Thank you very much for that, and I think very interesting interventions from the other panelists as well as Liam. So when I founded my organization, it wasn't centered around the use of technology. A little over a decade ago, lots of people in the room may remember that Botswana had the dubious distinction of having the highest HIV prevalence rate in the whole world. So when I founded my organization, it was mostly to help people who are infected and affected by HIV and AIDS in Botswana, and mostly orphans and vulnerable children, and as a way of mitigating the government's efforts, though we know that Botswana has one of the best responses to HIV and AIDS and healthcare system holistically. And it's only later on that we transitioned as an organization, and I decided to set up an IT-based company that our tagline is innovating for development. And the reason why I set up an IT company on top of my organization is that while I was doing a lot of advocacy, outreaches, humanitarian work, and civic education, I realized that we're using a lot of resources that were coming from us, and it was requiring a lot of financial resources, a lot of human resources, and sometimes we're not able to reach out as much as we can or as much as we wish to, simply because of lack of financial resources. And this is where I discovered an opportunity to mitigate that challenge by incorporating technology. And I think also in the way that our government is doing things, there's a lot that could be leveraged by our government if they invest in doing some of the work using technology as opposed to doing it the old traditional way. And with my IT company, what we do is that we develop prototypes for different programs or different kind of interventions with the hope that we can partner with government, NGOs, and other different sectors to pilot as well as scale up on that. And one of the things that is fantastic about technology is that it's not about necessarily reinventing the wheel or coming up with something completely new, but it's identifying a problem and seeing how you can find a solution to that. And it's in the most simple things, you know. One of the things that we developed was an app that's going to assist with healthcare checkups and all of that. And the reason why we developed that, I was saying, in my country, the Department of Transport reminds me when my car has been flagged and I need to go and pay my fines. It reminds me to go and renew my vehicle registration and all of that. But then we don't have such a platform that reminds people to go and collect their medication, refills, blood tests, and all of that. And that is more essential. That is more important, you know. So it was in the simple things that were there in our country that we thought, how can we leverage technology? And one of the brilliant things that has also been developed by the young people that I work with is the signed glove, you know, and this is meant to mitigate the challenge of marginalized group of people living with disability who have an audio impairment. They often have a lot of challenges with accessing services because often the healthcare workers don't know how to speak with sign language. So what they developed is a glove that just looks like any ordinary fashionable glove that you would use, except that a person who has an audio impairment uses to sign, and then an audio comes out of that glove to communicate to the health provider to say, okay, I'm not feeling well, or this and that. You know, so these are some of the things that we innovated. And now just to conclude and touching on your question, I think there's a lot of opportunities that could be leveraged in technology, but first and foremost, there's also a lot of opportunities that can be leveraged in engaging young people. And I think that's one of the biggest gaps that we have. Because we always talk about involving young people because they are the majority, they are the future, we need to drive the transformation agenda and the SDG agenda. But when you go into all of our offices, at the decision-making table, you don't find young people. When you go to high-level meetings and you look at the country delegations, you don't find young people. When you go to high-level events and you look at the agenda, the sessions, often the sessions that talk about young people's issues or where you have a lot of panelists as young people will be left to side events. They won't be plenary. So we really need to change the narrative and not just look at how to work to deliver for young people, but how do we work to deliver with young people, leveraging on their capacities, their innovative and vibrant personalities, and the fact that we are in many cases the majority. So we need to just be seen not just as spectators or beneficiaries for the development agenda, but also as partners for development. Thank you.
Thank you, Hon Lejang. I'm really happy to have you on my panel as a young woman with such ambitions and such force. So turning back to our government representatives, Mr. Msiska, are really governments so behind? Are they close to or open to working with young people, with young ideas? They are most of the time criticized for being behind the curve, and you talked specifically about the capacity of openness, and you talked very brilliantly about the humility. So what would you add to what Gigi's just said?
Yes, I think it is important, especially with what I heard in the presentation from our colleagues from Portugal on digital and open government and Denmark. It is obviously clear that in our particular situation, for example, we are trying to make sure that the broadband, then I'll explain how the young people come in, infrastructure and the connectivity is increased to the most needy areas. In our case, it's the rural areas. Our country is about 750 square kilometers, so it's not a very small country. Now, what we have been doing specifically in Zambia, what is happening, which I'm very glad about, which is not an initiative we started as government, but a group of young people have come together and they're mentoring themselves around the development of businesses, so especially in the IT field. What we have done is brought these people to speak to us and tell us specifically where the obstacles are. And the last group I had to speak to is called Bongo Hive. They even appeared on CNN at one stage. It was very interesting to hear them and get a totally different perspective. I indicated at the beginning that unfortunately sometimes governments are very much inward looking rather than outside. There are several things that we need to change as governments. One is the question of mindset, which I think was spoken about. I won't go into detail. But it's also about the laws that relate to the use of data in governments. Because if you want as many young people to develop apps in open source to help you with services, you have to open that. Then there is also the thing I spoke about where because of the way the bureaucracy of the past has been created, it's very difficult for an outsider to understand how the system works. So we have been speaking about a supermarket approach, which we are calling e-pamosi. It is basically that if you're coming from outside, whether young or old, it should be easier for you. And I saw in the presentation from Denmark, where I thought they've done a fantastic job in making sure that they not only digitize from infrastructure to mandatory services, right to the services they're providing, but also the fact that they have a very good feedback loop. If you will understand what is interesting about the beauty about the young people, even in my countries, they manage to access of a lot of ICT, even if you try to block it. That's why I was talking a little bit more about capacity. We have no choice. We need to go digital and open. In my own country, the president announced that we need to go a smart Zambia, which essentially entails that in addition to the infrastructure, we need to go the route of simplification and making sure that our colleagues from the private sector participate. In those committees I was talking about, we have full participation of the young people on the same platform. The only thing that I'm beginning to see, which I think that I hope the young people here will not be angry with me to say this, is that I always feel sometimes that they always assume we are not young people before ourselves. And so it appears as if we don't appreciate the sense of frustrations they go through. I remember when I was their age, the rage of hormones and just thinking that everything can turn around the next moment, that energy need to be channeled in a way that it doesn't seem like there's a conflict between the old and the young. There should necessarily be a very good interaction, because most of the challenges they are going through are challenges we went through. But I also put it on ourselves as elderly ones that when we are interacting and making decisions of matters of policy, we bring them on board. But I can tell you that I am of the view that even now that sometimes because of the energies involved and the slowness of change, it almost appears like we are in constant conflict. Because let's think about it. All of us are interested in making sure that our countries develop. We have a common goal as far as that is concerned. What we may not agree about many times is the time it will take and how we engage. This is why I said all of us, including myself, need to have additional skills which we didn't have before. In fact, before I finally close, we have a term, I'm sure you use it even here, BBC, those who were born before computers, who resist the penetration of internet and the use of open platforms to dialogue. But I think it is important, Madam Chairperson, that we bring on board the young people, but in a much more productive manner. Me, I have told the group in Zambia that they should proceed and start working on apps for the government, and we'll pay them for producing those apps. So it's not charity, but we're trying to move the process forward.
But these are very insightful ideas. Coming back to Morocco, does this talk to you? Are you able to actually engage in a less conflictual manner with young generations who are putting up their aspirations and expectations? And what are you doing in terms of actions to engage with?
Moi, je pense que tout modèle de développement inclusif, il faut qu'elle prenne en considération les attentes de toutes les catégories, notamment les jeunes. Ça, c'est un principe de base. La jeunesse marocaine se trouve au centre de préoccupation tout d'abord de la Constitution. Donc, la Constitution consolide, exhorte le gouvernement à mettre en place les dispositifs nécessaires pour satisfaire les attentes et les besoins des jeunes et en même temps créer des espaces inclusif des jeunes, notamment le Conseil consultatif de la jeunesse et de l'action associative. Deuxièmement, ce que les jeunes devient un élément fondateur de tous les discours royaux. Maintenant, c'est le passage de la Constitution et des discours royaux aux politiques publiques, effectivement, nécessite tout d'abord l'inclusion des jeunes, tout d'abord pour l'ouverture d'offres d'emploi, l'inclusion par l'emploi, tout d'abord. Deuxièmement, c'est satisfaire leurs attentes. Maintenant, les espaces d'intermédiation traditionnels ne sont plus efficaces maintenant. Malgré le renforcement de leur rôle à travers la Constitution, les partis politiques, les syndicats, les associations, etc., je pense que les jeunes maintenant se basculent vers un monde virtuel. Ils sont en train de construire leur monde dans cet espace virtuel. Ils se procurent des informations de cet espace et le dialogue, etc. Donc maintenant, je pense que pour améliorer ces espaces d'intermédiation et d'encadrement des jeunes, il faut alimenter ces espaces virtuels par des informations nécessaires à ces jeunes. Il faut satisfaire leurs besoins en termes d'information et de formation pour les orienter, les éclairer, les encadrer, etc. Il faut les aider. Maintenant, ils ont déjà créé cet espace. Il faut que les politiques publiques accompagnent ces jeunes en mettant de l'information nécessaire aux jeunes dans ces espaces, d'où la nécessité de ce qu'on appelle gouvernement et société civile, privé, citoyens. Maintenant, il faut se basculer vers ces espaces et se mettre en place, alimenter donc ces espaces avec l'information nécessaire qui satisfait les jeunes, bien sûr, en matière d'encadrement, des questionnements qu'ils posent, de recherche d'emploi, d'amélioration de leurs compétences, bref, de satisfaire leurs attentes, leurs besoins. Donc je pense qu'il faut suivre les jeunes à ce niveau. En termes de politique publique, bien évidemment, nous sommes, au commissariat au plan, je reviens toujours à ça, pour avoir, donc ils ont des problèmes, donc en matière d'accès à l'emploi, l'éducation, la santé, etc. Maintenant, il y a des problèmes, mais il faut diagnostiquer avec des informations statistiques fiables. D'où, au commissariat au plan, nous programmons un ensemble d'enquêtes auprès des jeunes. Nous avons déjà réalisé des enquêtes auprès des jeunes en 2011 pour voir quelles sont leurs attentes, leurs problèmes, etc., pour éclairer les politiques publiques. Maintenant, nous avons une nouvelle génération des enquêtes auprès des jeunes pour effectivement se mettre au diapason avec leurs attentes et éclairer les politiques publiques et donc être à la hauteur de répondre à leurs attentes et en même temps réduire cet écart entre les aspirations des jeunes et ce qu'offrent les politiques publiques.
Merci, M. Nada. Coming back to you, Mr. Rodriguez. From also your private sector perspective on things, when you've heard Mr. Msiska say that we have no choice, digital, open, how this is serving the left behind, the vulnerable, those who are at the heart of the agenda?
Good point. Multi-stakeholder partnerships, ICT, reaching the poor and vulnerable, and I like what Gigi raised earlier about engaging the youth, and what Dr. Misiska said about changing mindset in terms of looking at citizens, including youth, not just as beneficiaries, but as partners in co-creating solutions to the challenge that we're facing. So to answer your question, I'll give an example. To help increase youth employment, for instance, in Italy, government, businesses, and other stakeholders launched this Growing in Digital project, which is an online training, whereby youth, not in education, employment, or training, or need, to, alluding to Gigi's point, to equip them with digital skills. Small and medium enterprises, or SMEs, take in the trainees as interns, and interns receive 500 euros monthly from the government. And to promote employment of youth need, SMEs which decide to hire interns after the internship receive an incentive of up to 6,000 euros from the government. The project can help to reduce the proportion of youth need, which is one of the targets of the Sustainable Development Goal on promoting full and productive employment. What does the collaboration look like, and how does ICT come into play? And how do we able to engage the youth in co-creating solutions to challenges that we face? The Ministry of Labor and Social Policy, for instance, works with Google and a nonprofit which developed the training content and website. The training focuses on internet for businesses to support their growth and internationalization. After completing the training and passing an examination, youth trainees participate in workshops coordinated by chambers of commerce, which in turn provide opportunities for one-on-one meetings between youth need and businesses which seek interns. During the internship, interns are supported by an online community of experts and tutors from chambers of commerce. And as I said, SMEs which decide to hire interns after the internship receive an incentive from the government. In terms of results so far, since September 2015, nearly 7,000 completed the online training, and over 5,000 internships were offered by about 3,700 businesses. The government can help target youth need and engage them to promote growth of SMEs and the economy more broadly. And they can also provide the incentives, among others. Technology companies, such as Google, among others, can bring in their expertise to develop youth needs digital skills and contribute to the economic development of their societies. And businesses can provide jobs. Alluding to the point, or building on the point on multi-stakeholder partnership, linking training and employment would have been challenging had these stakeholders worked alone. So that example that I gave you is a good practice example, if you will, of how stakeholders collaborated, engaged a vulnerable group, youth not in education, employment, and training, to not only increase their employment, but also to contribute to the growth of their societies.
Very interesting experience indeed. And I go back actually to Hong Lejang, because she told me earlier on when we were starting the preparation of this panel that multi-stakeholder partnership works only when you take it to the law. I mean, it works for a certain space, for a certain period, but then you have to really lobby to make it real, and the only way to do it is through legislature. Could you please explain this point also, and bringing also to the discussion what you've heard from the different partners in this panel, and focus on the challenges and opportunities. You will have the concluding statement of this panel.
Great. Thank you very much. I think also, again, really lovely interventions from everybody who's made a contribution in the panel. And I just wanted to say one thing as a response to one of the comments that came from one of the panelists. And I wanted to respond in the form of giving a bit of a small analogy to say that, you know, yes, some things do take a long time, but we do not wait and say, I mean, there is a lot that we can do in that period before we transition to the ultimate output that we want. You know, it's the same way that when it rains, we don't stop doing anything else and say we are waiting for the rain to stop. No, we find a way to work while it's still raining. We find an umbrella, you use a taxi to get to where you want to do, or you decide to work at home, but you don't wait for the rain to stop, and then that's when you continue. You continue doing your work. So there are a lot of things that can be done while we're waiting for the ultimate transformation into being a digital economy and e-governance and all of that. Example of something that we worked on through my company is that we realized that, as Liam said earlier on, that internet is really expensive in our countries to access data bundles and all of that, you know. But then we're saying we want to access we want to reach young people with information dissemination, on empowerment, on issues that could really help them make better life choices. So instead of saying we will wait until when internet will be much quicker, much faster, much more reliable, and much more affordable in our countries, we decided to use another artificial form of intelligence for technology, which is called a bot platform. This is something, it's sort of an application, except it functions within an already existing application like Facebook. So we would have the same kind of platform where we relay certain information, communication, and all of that to young people. But instead of them having to download an app and use extra data to access that, it is something that functions within the Facebook application. So that is an example of something that can be done to mitigate the cost of accessing information or using technology, yet still performing the same service. And I just want to say, to move to what you're saying, I think I just want to put it down into three quick overall recommendations that came to my mind as I was preparing my intervention for this session. The first thing, I think we really need to motivate political will and commitment to invest in innovation. Beyond rhetoric, we know the benefits of investing in technology and innovations and all of that, but let us see it coming from the national budgets. Let the revenue or the money that our countries dedicate to the ministries of technology and infrastructure, the money that goes into technology and innovation in our countries reflects the political will and commitment to enhance service delivery and efficiency, and indeed move towards digitalization through proper investment. So it's very important that we have such aligned budgets, such aligned domestic resource mobilization for technology, and even I would encourage, if other countries don't have that in place, to have national transformation strategies that espouse youth engagement, gender responsiveness, incorporation of technology into government at all levels, and ensuring that it also brings, again, the issue that came from Rodriguez about integration as well as collaboration of different sectors. Second thing that I think is important is to ensure that we also prioritize inclusion. I know we all talk about inclusion and bringing everybody on board and all of that, but I think it's not being done adequately, and there's still a lot of work that can be done with that. And I bring inclusion because one of the main themes of the SDGs is leaving no one behind, right? We don't want to leave anyone behind, even if we are going towards digitalization, e-governance, and driving our economies through ICT. We need to still ensure that it espouses inclusion. And I say that because often at times I hear at country level, especially in the context of Africa, saying that we have hard to reach populations. And this is a term that I personally completely disagree with, because we have populations that we have termed hard to reach. Yet in those hard to reach communities, you will find a bottle of soda, and you will also find campaign merchandise from political parties. So it's not that they are hard to reach communities, we just don't prioritize reaching them. So in as much as we're transforming towards digitalization, let us ensure that it is also inclusive. And then the last thing, I think we need to also realize that in driving transformation and delivering on the sustainable development agenda, and as much as we can have resources, the best human rights treaties, collaboration and all of that, one of the most important factors is governance. Because governance at its best is an enabler, and at its worst it is an impediment. So I think at meetings or gatherings like this where we get to engage with member states and different partners, let us also see how we can help countries to enhance their governance structures to ensure that they also have good governance that can enable delivering on the SDGs. Let us see how there was a side event today on corruption, and I think that was really brilliant that UNDESA brought in one of the experts who was presenting a paper that they had worked on corruption in Africa. But we need to realize that corruption is a huge impediment to progress and transformation. Because even when you talk about innovation, many of our countries often say we don't have the capacity to invest in innovation. But do we know that, for example, in Africa, the total cost of corruption is actually more than the total cost that the continent receives in aid? So imagine if we were able to transform that and change all that funding that we lose to corruption and bad governance and reinvest it into mechanisms that would help our countries build their capacity to deliver on the SDGs. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. What a great way to end on such a note of hope and courage. I'm very happy that our panel ended with a statement from the young women on this panel, so thank you. And thank you, my panelists. And thank you also for the translator who had to bear with us speaking quickly. I might open the floor for 3 questions if we still have time. We're supposed to close at 6:30, but we might take a few questions. We're not far behind. Questions or intervention from the floor? Any? No? Okay. I think it's a real long and tough day, and I think they were very happy listening to the closing statement. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us. A close applause.
شكرا طبعا لمديرة هذه الجلسة العامة الثانية الآنسة لمياء مبيض رئيسة المعهد المالي باسل فليحان وعضو لجنة خبراء الأمم المتحدة المعنية بالإدارة العامة. شكرا للسيد رولاند مسيسكا. الشكر كذلك موصول للسيد ليمون رودريغيز، للسيدة فالادي وللسيد نداح. شكرا لكم على مداخلاتكم القيمة، على إغنائكم مضامين هذه الجلسة العامة الثانية والتي خصصت للابتكارات طبعا وللأفكار المميزة من أجل تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة. شكرا كذلك لحسن إصغائكم ولحضوركم فعاليات هذه الجلسة العامة الثانية. ولا يفوتني كذلك أن أشكر السيد ليام ماكسويل الذي كان معنا وساهم بدوره في إغناء مضامين هذه الجلسة. لا بأس في نهاية هذه الجلسة أن أذكركم أيها الحضور الكريم ببرنامج الغد. سنكون على موعد في الصباح مع الجلسة العامة الثالثة، وخلالها سيتم استعراض مضامين الجلسات، جلسات منتدى الأمم المتحدة للخدمة العمومية، طبعا من خلال الإنصات إلى التقارير برفقة 3 مقررين. بعد ذلك نحن على موعد مع مائدة مستديرة وزارية حول تكييف أهداف التنمية المستدامة مع السياق الوطني وشعارها الطريق إلى الأمام. حضور الوزراء مهم لأن الأمر يتعلق بصناع للقرار وبمنفذين للسياسات حتى يكون لهذا المنتدى أثر في واقع مجتمعاتنا ودولنا. بعد ذلك نحن على موعد مع لحظة مميزة، هي لحظة تتويج الفائزين بجائزة الأمم المتحدة للخدمة العامة، وذلك احتفالا باليوم العالمي للمرفق العام. كذلك سنكون على موعد مع فسحة ثقافية عبارة عن كورال موسيقي حتى نمنح الجانب الثقافي حقه وحظه في هذا المنتدى. والجلسة الختامية كذلك ستكون في بعد ظهر يوم غد. نشد بحرارة على أيدي المشاركين والمنظمين والحاضرين. شكرا لكم على حسن الإصغاء وطيب المتابعة وعلى هذا اليوم الحافل بالنقاشات بالخبرات بتبادل التجارب والمعارف. ونضرب موعدا إذن مع يوم غد يوم الختام، يوم حافل كذلك. أسعدتم مساء أيها الحضور الكريم.
Just as you all leave, a few participants have lost their headsets, including me. If you find them, if you could drop them over to the Secretariat office, which is on the right-hand side as you come in or on the left as you go out, that would be much appreciated. So maybe just take a look in your bags, see if you have an extra one, number 19 especially. Thanks.